Hi, I'm in Greece at the European press launch of the Sony A77, one of 4 new cameras launched by Sony. It boasts several world firsts and lots of headline-grabbing features. First up, it's not actually a digital SLR, it's an SLT, single-lens translucent camera, which is unique technology to Sony. It's very similar to a DSLR, though it has a mirror inside reflecting the light, but rather than the mirror flipping up out of the way to allow light to pass through like a DSLR does, it's a fixed mirror, it's translucent. Some of the light passes through to the sensor, some of the light reflects up to the top for the viewfinder, but the viewfinder in these SLT cameras is an electronic viewfinder rather than an optical viewfinder. Firstly, it's got a 24.3 megapixel APS-C sized CMOS sensor, which is the highest resolution sensor of any APS-C sized SLR camera you can buy. Secondly, it has of course the highest resolution electronic viewfinder of any camera currently available on the market. Thirdly, it is the world's fastest camera at burst rate. This camera can shoot 12 frames per second at full 24 megapixel resolution, which no other camera on the market can touch, not even professional cameras. And this, remember, is a sort of a high-end consumer camera. Now, going back and looking at these headline features in a little bit more detail, the viewfinder is an XGA OLED viewfinder, OLED technology, and it has 2.3 million pixels. Now, I have to say, I've never been a fan of electronic viewfinders. I've said so many times in the past. This possibly could change things. I think it's the first time I've looked through an electronic viewfinder and actually forgotten I was looking at an electronic viewfinder, not an optical one, which is quite a breakthrough. Looking again at that 12 frames per second burst rate, let's remember that that is with full-time continuous autofocus as well, which you can only get with the fixed mirror, because when the mirror flips out of the way with the conventional camera, the camera is unable to check the focusing. So with the SLT technology, the camera is able to continually autofocus while burst shooting. So that means that when you're shooting at 12 frames a second, the camera is continually refocusing on the subject as it goes along, which is unparalleled with any other camera on the market. The back of the camera has the best implementation I've yet seen of a vari-angle LCD screen. Up to now, the best ones have been hinged at the side, so you can flip it around to the front if you're photographing yourself or videoing yourself or whatever, and you can flip it down and up. The current Sony ones are hinged at the bottom, and they can only go up or down, not sideways, and you certainly can't view them from the front of the camera. This one actually combines the best of both worlds. It's in line with the lens and in line with the viewfinder, which is better in some ways than having a screen to the side of the camera, but it's articulated in very many ways. It's very clever. You can position it in all sorts of different ways, for example from shooting from above, so you can look down at it like this or like this, but the clever thing is it actually swivels, so you can have it like this, like this. There's all kinds of possibilities. You can swivel it around for high shooting like this, and of course if you are videoing yourself or taking pictures of yourself, you can flip it around like this. Now, it goes without saying that the A77 can shoot full HD movies at 1080p. You know, previous generation AVC HD could only do 1080i, but the next generation AVC HD, which this camera includes, is full 1080p progressive shooting at 25 frames per second or 50 frames per second for the PAL market. It does so with continuous autofocus as you're videoing, and also if you shoot in manual focus mode, you have full control of the aperture priority, shutter priority, manual exposure settings as well. Now, a quick run through of some of the other key features of this camera. It's made from a magnesium alloy body with comprehensive dust and moisture seals and a shutter tested to 150,000 cycles. So it's designed, although not specifically a professional camera, it's designed to withstand a certain amount of high-end and possibly professional abuse. It has, of course, the sensor-based image stabilization, the Sony Steady Shot. We designed this camera as, of course, its other alpha cameras, and it has some of the other sort of clever tricks which even its compact cameras have now, including things like the sweep panorama, which I think is far from a gimmick. It's actually incredibly useful, and this, of course, features the 3D implementation of that feature as well, if you want that. There is, of course, as you've probably noticed, an optional battery grip which attaches to the camera like so. It takes 2 of the lithium-ion batteries and it doubles your capacity. It doesn't give you any faster frame rate, but it does also give you a good way of holding the camera for more vertical shooting as well. And the shutter button's really well positioned for good balance as you're using it. Of course, there are many, many more features that are too numerous to go through in this short video. Let me just give you a few of my first impressions though. I have to say that I'm very impressed with this camera. It has a lot of very high-tech features that will just work really, really well. The high-speed burst mode is especially good if you're a sports or action photographer. This can't be beaten on any camera. Not only have you got your 12 frames a second, it's continually autofocusing throughout that time. It tracks focus very well. It really is probably the best system I've seen for action photography. The electronic viewfinder, I had concerns about this before I started using it because, as I said earlier, I don't like them. But this one, I have to say, it could be the one that changes my mind, because as I'm looking through it now, as you pan the camera around, you don't really get that dragging effect, which you often get with some of the previous and existing electronic viewfinders. And of course, you have benefits of electronic viewfinder which you don't get with an optical viewfinder. So I think I could live with this electronic viewfinder for the first one I've come across where I could say that. The tilt and swivel screen is really very useful. I find that great. It's probably the best example of its kind. But it's not just the both main features, the way the camera handles, the way it holds, the way that you can, this just feels very comfortable. The rubberized grip is very good. It's a good weight. All the information is at your fingertips. You can customize it as you want to. Now, this is not a final production model, so I can't judge the image quality too much, but from what I've seen so far, it looks exceptionally good. Even at high ISOs, this camera can shoot up to ISO 16,000. There's a new kit lens that's bundled with the camera, a new 16 to 50 f2.8 SSM lens, and this looks like a cracking lens too. It adds about £500 or so to the cost of the camera. Overall, there's very little negative I can say about this camera. I like it very much. The only thing I can think of which they should have done, or wish I had done, is when you're using video, there is a mic socket, but there's no audio control over the levels or anything. That would have been nice. Other than that, it's extremely impressive.